Hi everyone, this is Raina. So I'm doing a series of videos on the different sun signs, and for those people who love people from that sun sign. It's maybe you could call it a survival guide, but it's more like just a few words about each sign and just getting people to kind of see what possible motivations they have for the behavior that they exhibit. Because as I've been saying, when we go into relationships, we should always go into it with the idea that we're not there to change the other person, but we're accepting them and their essence. And of course, you know, in the during the course of a relationship, you are going to have times when you may want the other person to modify their behavior. But it always has to come from a position of accepting them anyway. Otherwise, you either accept them or you don't, and then you move on. You know, nobody is saying you have to live with behavior that is clashing with your own temperament or ideals or whatever you believe in. Well, that is your ideals, but you get the point. And so I've also drawn a few cards to kind of symbolize at least how I feel about Aries. You know, it's funny because I should have picked the Emperor from the Major Arcana because it's connected to Aries, but I refuse to because I feel that the Emperor should be Capricorn. And Capricorn's associated with the Devil card, so it gets kind of like weird quickly. But one of the cards that I did pick was the Ace of Wands. Now the suit of wands, and you see there's even fire coming from that wand. The suit of the wands themselves is always about fire element. So it is connected to all the fire signs. So it's Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. But Ace is the beginning, and so I associate it with the first fire sign. The Ace of Wands is all about new beginnings and that excitement, that passion that you have, or new relationships, new anything. And Aries is a sign of the catalyst. You know, it's a cardinal fire sign. So you have the enthusiasm and the creativity that exemplifies the fire element, and then you match that with the cardinal modality. And the other cardinal signs are Libra, which is the opposite sign of Aries, and Cancer, and Capricorn. And these four signs are the signs of the initiators. They're the signs of people that get things done, but they especially like to get things started. I think out of all the four cardinal signs, Aries is the one that has the most difficulty finishing what they started. So they love new beginnings and they're very enthusiastic, but they very quickly can get bored. And this can also apply to relationships. So if you're somebody who is, you know, wanting to connect with an Aries person romantically, just understand that you have to kind of keep them on their toes because they're also ruled by Mars, the god of war. So they have that need for the thrill of the chase. They love to have that, you know, competitiveness, that sense of excitement. They don't like things to get stale, to get too boring, stale, you know. And so this is one of the reasons why if you're an earth sign, for instance, you may connect with Aries sexually, because I think they're one of the most, the signs with the highest libidos of the zodiac. But when it comes to the duration of the relationship, it may kind of run its course after that initial thrill of the newness of the physical relationship wears off. So that's one of the things you have to watch out for. And, you know, I think that Aries people are not as, you know, known for their intellect as they should be. I think that they can be highly intelligent and quick learners. They're quick at doing a lot of things because that Mars energy makes them impatient. So they want to do things right away. But even when they're learning, they're very quick to learn. And so they can be very intelligent. But like if you're a parent who has an Aries child and you're frustrated because the child isn't performing up to your standards in terms of their grades, understand that they may be very bored. Maybe they're too bright for the actual curriculum. Maybe they need more challenging curriculum, or maybe they just don't like being put into a box. Maybe it's too confining for them. All of the fire signs crave freedom, and Aries is certainly no exception to that. The other thing too, and this applies to whatever type of connection you have to an Aries person, is that they don't take orders very well. Okay, they're not very cooperative when somebody asks them to do something. And this is because this is true by and large of all the cardinal signs. Aries, I think because the ruler is Mars, wants to call the shots. You know, they are the doers, and they do not want, they want to be the ones to initiate things. And all of the cardinal signs tend to be rather controlling when it comes to their environment. And it's not because, it's not like the lust for power that may be associated with Scorpio in terms of just the general sense of wanting to feel in control of themselves, or Capricorn in terms of that climbing the ladder of success and wanting to ensure that they stay on the top. But it's more of a wanting to satisfy what I would, qualify as somewhat self-centered ambitions. In other words, Aries, being the first sign of the zodiac, is all about me, myself, and I. And so they can tend to be rather self-absorbed. They can be very generous, but it's not so much like the narcissism associated with Leo. It's just more because they are the first sign, they want to be seen as on top of the pack, okay? And, a lot of that is that competitiveness and their ego. And so as children, Aries can be extremely, prone to temper tantrums, but unfortunately that never goes away. So if you have an Aries child and they make scenes, this is them trying to assert their control over their environment. And you need to teach them and behavior modification, okay? Do not use physical punishment. And of course, I actually do not believe in physical punishment for children. Or because, I just don't think that that's a civilized or intelligent way to deal with what you consider bad behavior. It's not about being lax with children and letting them run wild, not by a long shot, but it's about showing that you are in control of your emotions and that you are mature and that you can show them, model for them proper behavior by your self-control. When you hit children, you just teach intimidation. So, and this is very important for Aries because they are a sign associated with boxing, and even, Mars is associated with, in the shadow aspect, violence. So you really don't want to teach them that kind of thing because they will readily understand it, and, that might makes right. That being bigger is a way to get what you want. That's not making a case for your point of view, is by threatening somebody physically. So this is the kind of thing you want to teach if they have temper tantrums, how to control themselves better, because they have to learn to delay gratification. And this is what adult Aries people need to learn. And part of this is that spontaneity that they have. They can be very charming and childlike in that sense. It's when they veer into the childishness that people start to get turned off. But there's something refreshingly honest about Aries people. They do not have a pretense. They are very, without, saying, I was going to say they're very down to earth, but they're not earth signs. They're fire signs. So it's not so much being like very, plain spoken and, simplistic in their ideas and behavior. It's about being straightforward, being authentic, being truthful in their dealings. And that is what makes them, people that are worth knowing, and people who really are energizing to be around. I mean, I have certainly had that experience myself. And I'm a fire sign too. I'm a Sagittarius. But there's just something about Aries that is really like, it gives you that kind of a boost, or like a contact high from being around them. And they also have a certain bravery. And this is one of the reasons why when you talk about the god of war, Aries people may crave excitement, even to the extreme. People who like to go on roller coasters, or bungee jumping. People who gravitate towards jobs where they are in the line of fire, in danger, like being a cop, or being a military person, or being an emergency medical technician, or an ER doctor for that matter, where there's life and death, or there's things happening. There's never a dull moment. And, that to them is the worst thing in the world, is having boredom. So if you're somebody who likes to curl up with a book at home, you're going to have to really negotiate with an Aries person, because he or she is a doer. They are very active physically. They can be hyperactive, where they have a hard time not doing, have a hard time sitting on the couch and, watching some kind of a movie or something. They would rather go and do a sport, or, take care of a project, do something that gets them moving, gets them active. And so, we have to understand that not everyone is like us. And that's one of the reasons why some people are not well suited for one another, because they don't have the same kind of temperament. Okay, so for instance, if you are a Libran person, now Libra is a sign that, it's the opposite sign of Aries. And so they are supposed to get along, because it's an air sign. Air and fire get along. And of course, fire and fire get along. But Aries likes to, make things nice and pleasant. And did I say Aries? I meant Libra. Libra likes to make things nice and pleasant. They don't like to make waves. Aries is the bull in the china closet. So also, Libra doesn't like displays of anger, negative emotions, that especially not something of the, temper variety. That's not something that Libra likes at all. And I'm sure even Aquarius as well. So if that is something that an Aries person does, if they have a tendency to lose their temper very easily because they are volatile, that could turn off a Libra person very easily. So the temperament differences can be a problem. And, if you're somebody who is like more of a couch potato, Aries may find you a bit lazy, and they may think that, you're not active enough. And neither one of you may be wrong, it's just that you're different. If you have a child who's an Aries, you have to find a way for them to be able to expend their energy in a healthy way. Usually it'll be either with a sport, their aggression too, with a sport, especially a vigorous sport. Their sense of competition is very strong, as well as anything to do artistically that is physical, so dancing, or what else could they do? Well, I mean, they can do anything artistic that makes them, that is active. They probably would have a hard time sitting still and drawing and painting a painting, but Van Gogh Van Gogh, I'm sorry, I didn't say it correctly. It was an Aries. So that, that just, I just shot down my own theory there. But, they need a lot of stimulation. So you must provide that for them. Do not expect them to sit still for long stretches of time. Make accommodations. I know I'm going to get it from some people because maybe it's my moon in Virgo that's a little bit, looking at the critical side of things. But I can't help but when I see, I'm not a parent. So people say, well, that's because you're not a parent. Well, I don't have to be a carpenter to know when a table's broken, right? So I see parents and they expect their children in public to be sitting there to wait for something, whether it's waiting for, waiting for the laundry, doing something, and they don't provide them any kind of books, they don't provide them any kind of distraction, and they want them to sit still and not do anything. That is unreasonable. That's not like tuning into a child's mentality. But especially with an Aries child, you have to have the understanding that they are going to be very active, be it male or female. Female Aries may be tomboys, okay? Do not make them be other than they are. Let them be who they are. They are individualists. All fire signs must express their individuality. Do not expect them to conform to your expectations, okay? And you'll be, good to go. And by the way, first of all, it's getting very dark here, but I also wanted to mention a couple of these other cards that I had picked before I go. You have, and I was saying his name before, I think it's Sir Nunus, and I'm still getting these, what are they called? Keepers of the Light Oracle cards. I'm starting to learn about them. And what it says below, I didn't pick it for any reason, divining purposes. It says, express your driving passion. Sensual and sexual powers are increased. I picked it because it said life force. And that's how I see Aries, as a life force. Like a sign that really exemplifies, the actual passion for living. And more times than not, Aries is a very, very positive sign. They could be life coaches very easily because they have a can-do spirit. It's not just about, yakking away and talking about, visualization or anything, or rubbing crystals. They will, walk the walk. They actually take action. They're not just all about meditating or thinking good thoughts or affirmations or anything like that. They're about actually doing, and that's what gets them their results. And the third card I picked was and by the way too, Aries is associated with the color red. That's the first chakra of survival. And so with Aries, it's like that's where they're primal. Watch what's that movie with Marlon Brando? Streetcar Named Desire? Or is that, I think it's Streetcar Named Desire when he's yelling, what was he saying, Blanche or something? But Brando was a double Aries. And it's like this man, I got the same vibe from Russell Crowe, who's also an Aries. They just their energy is just palpable. It's like totally masculine. It's like the King of Wands. I should have picked the King of Wands. That would have been a good card, but I picked the Knight of Wands because there's a chaos with the Knight of Wands that I associate with Aries. Aries is like a ball of energy. So, and actually the Knight of Wands is actually connected to Sagittarius more than Aries, but I connected to because of the military concept, the warrior concept. I connected to Aries. And that ball of energy, that just primal force, really knocks your socks off. So, okay. I hope you enjoyed this. Take care, you guys. Bye.